And good morning. Welcome to First Sunday. I'm Sylvan Rodriguez. Today is July the 2nd, and that means, of course, we're only 2 days away from our big celebration celebrating our nation's birthday, July the 4th. We've come to Clear Lake. This is an area that really knows how to celebrate the 4th of July. Fireworks everywhere, boats everywhere, all kinds of festivities. And there will also be a number of festivities in downtown Houston. We hope to tell you all about the 4th of July as we celebrate our country's birthday. And while there'll be a number of activities here in the Clear Lake area, the 4th of July celebrations will continue throughout the Houston area. And here's a quick list for you to check to make your plans early. Well, in just a couple of days, boats like these will literally cover the Clear Lake area, all trying to get in a better position to watch the big 4th of July fireworks display. And speaking of the 4th of July, what better time to remember the men and women who served in our armed forces? One such person is Raul Herrera. You may remember him. We introduced you to him some months ago. Well, he's a Vietnam veteran. He served his time aboard what was called the Swift boats in Vietnam. And he brought back some painful memories. Recently, he and his friends took a trip that helped ease some of those memories.
I must have been on a diet, Stella. I look so thin. It's hard to believe that 28 years have passed since these films were taken.
Raul Herrera hadn't seen these pictures in at least 20 years until First Sunday transferred the film to videotape.
The guys pressed me for preparing a Mexican meal. My parents had sent me a care package with all these little ingredients. That's Julio Castro. There's Doc in the back. He was a medic. He's making some refried beans, medic style. His hands were clean. He's a medic.
Herrera served for a year in Vietnam, starting in April of 1967. During his tour of duty, he took these pictures with a Super 8 camera. Now the pictures and memories are being turned into words as he writes a book about his experiences. It's entitled Skunk Alpha.
Where you have an unidentified contact in the air, it's referred to as a bogey. Bogey at 2 o'clock, if you will. In the Navy, they're known as skunks. And in this particular case, the first unidentified contact at sea is Alpha.
On July 16, 1967, Skunk Alpha was a 120-foot fishing trawler smuggling arms to the Viet Cong operating in South Vietnam. Raul Herrera was the radio radar man on a PCF, Patrol Craft Fast, a 50-foot aluminum-hulled vessel better known as a Swift boat. These boats were part of what was known as Operation Market Time. Their mission? Patrol 1,200 miles of coastline and intercept smuggled arms. The Swift boat on which Raul served, PCF 79, would fulfill its mission in a big way in July of '67.
The radar ships lost the trawler as a contact. Our radar, being so close to the water surface, was able to maintain contact, and we were given orders to go in after the trawler. The anticipation of the trawler as it approached shore was just devastating to me. Your whole life, as they say, flashes before you. Well, I had rerun after rerun, and I just had 20 years to go through. But it just tore inside your stomach, the anticipation. However, once you get involved in actual combat and the bullets start whizzing by you, you just do your job. You don't think of the possibility that you might get hit. And certainly bullets were hitting very close by against the hull all around. My gunner's mate sitting in the gun tub, he was able to go after it with the twin 50s we had on top. And my boatswain mate was in the fantail. There was an 81 millimeter mortar in the back, and he fired one round of high explosive and he missed. We were so close to the trawler, within 100 yards, that he had to hand load the mortar, level it, and trigger fire. That's how close we were.
We got it! They got that son of a...
That's the pilot house. The area that I'm walking in right there is where my boatswain mate fired the killing round for this vessel. He fired a 81 millimeter mortar round of white phosphorus, and that caused the control panel in the pilot house of the trawler to just explode into a white fiery ball.
Raul believes the accuracy of the shot prevented the enemy from setting off a booby trap that would have destroyed the trawler and very likely the swift boat as well.
They had over 1,200 pounds of TNT strategically placed throughout the vessel so that in case they discovered they couldn't accomplish their mission, they would blow themselves out of the water and anybody else close to them.
As they would later learn, the trawler was carrying more than 90 tons of arms and ammunition, enough to supply a regiment for 3 months.
We were proud. Our whole crew was proud of our accomplishment. All during training, we had been told, your goal is to bring down a trawler. That was the ultimate. Premier Key and Vice President Tu, they presented us medals. They personally decorated us with the Vietnamese Cross of Gallantry. There was a big ceremony held in Da Nang. That was a great thrill. This is the medal, the Vietnamese Cross of Gallantry, that Premier Key pinned on me and all our crew members during the award ceremony in Da Nang.
Get the bulk of the book down. Get it written. We'll worry about rewrites later. We'll worry about polishing it.
John Craig, a Vietnam-era veteran himself, is Raul's literary agent. Congressional Medal of Honor recipient Roy Benavides is doing the historical research. Benavides has just released his own book on which Raul handled the historical research. Benavides says, although there are a lot of books on Vietnam, precious few are from the point of view of Hispanic servicemen. He says the proud military heritage of Hispanics must be remembered.
You know, the first person that was awarded the Medal of Honor in World War I was a Hispanic American, David Cantu Barley from San Antonio, Texas. And in World War II, there were more Hispanic Americans that were awarded the Medal of Honor than any other ethnic group per capita.
Nothing beats a good GI story as told by somebody who lived the life, walked the walk. Secondly, I think there's a great interest in understanding that our Hispanic population in the military has been underrepresented in literature.
In part, Raul is trying to change that with his book, and he gives voice to those who did not survive. He had a close brush with death himself.
My gunner's mate noticed that there were some people on the sand dunes, just right over the sand dunes. And my boat officer got up, and as he started to look through the binoculars, we got hit from 3 positions on the beach. Immediately, I saw a trail starting in the sand and then hitting the water. And the next thing I knew, there was a round that had hit the pilot house window, just right below the frame. And it shattered the glass, and I just fell back to it. When I left for Vietnam, my parents had given me the St. Anthony statue, and everywhere I went on patrol, I'd have him in my flak jacket pocket. When I got up and I checked, my St. Anthony statue was facing the other way.
Facing away from the bullets?
I ducked.
Facing you?
I ducked.
But the crew wasn't out of harm's way yet, and one of them would not survive.
The boatswain mate was here, behind the .50 caliber. Okay. He was in this position, firing at the different locations we were receiving fire from. And so we were dead in the water, receiving hits left and right. We were returning fire, and all was well. And as the engines eventually got started, we started heading back out to sea. And at that time is when my boatswain mate got hit with a machine gun round right through his eye, and he died instantly.
Raul's book is dedicated to his boatswain's mate, Bobby Don Carver.
From the very beginning, I had a very unique experience with him, a relationship. He was my mentor. I was young, 20 years old. He taught me the ropes of seamanship. I had never been out to sea before, and he was a true salt of the sea. Tattoos all over his chest, his arms, the naked woman on his bicep. But I often questioned, why not me? Because it was a great loss. The boatswain mate and I were very close in that relationship. He was much older, therefore it was almost as a father figure to me. He represented that to me. And I just questioned it, why not me? I was so close to death. Just a fraction of a second more, one more pull on the trigger, one more dip in the bow of the ship, and I would have been hit directly.
Someone was looking out for Raul Herrera that day, but not for Bobby Don Carver.
We were devastated. And that evening, we basically drank ourselves to sleep. The following evening, as I lay in bed, I awoke to discover a very cold pressure on my chest, on my entire body. I couldn't move, I couldn't fight, I couldn't get up, I couldn't yell to my gunner's mate that was in a bunk just feet away. And I knew it was him. And I just eventually broke from his pressure on me. Eventually I got over the episode and came back to the States, and everything was fine. So I thought. But ultimately, what started happening, I began having problems while taking a shower. I'd sense him around me. If I did close my eyes, I felt his presence around me. And that went on for a good time. Then one day, finally, I decided that perhaps maybe he's trying to tell me that I should write about what our accomplishments were in Vietnam and tell our story, tell about what his accomplishments were. Had it not been for him and his accuracy on that mortar, how many men's lives would have been lost at the hands of the enemy through the ammunition and supplies that that trawler had.
Raul ceased to feel the presence of Bobby Don Carver when he began research for his book. But he would have another unusual experience when he retrieved his wartime letters from his mother.
And I placed them in chronological order, and I began numbering them. And the last letter that I documented was 79, and that was my boat number, PCF 79. I just got a chill. Christmas comes to Vietnam. Unfortunately, it wasn't a very, very happy Christmas because we had just lost our boatswain mate. He was killed December the 6th, 1967, and so opening these presents was a little difficult. My mother had sent a Christmas package to each one of my crew members, and including my boatswain mate, and so that was difficult to take. This might very well be when I was getting ready to head back home. Going back -1.
It's called a PCF, Patrol Craft Fast, better known as a swift boat.
Well, when I first got aboard, I could just feel my hair stand on end. Hearing the engine noises, it just brings it all back to you real quick. Oh, here we go. Here we go. A little fast. Break some wake.
Raul Herrera of Sugar Land served on PCF 79, along with Ronald Reinhardt of Dayton, Texas. Recently in Washington, they plied the waters of the Potomac on a swift boat, along with their fellow crew members.
Missed it. Ah, we got that boy.
Boat officer Ed Bergen,
Get in there, Gunner.
gunner's mate Bob Middleton, and engineman Jim Snyder.
Probably the first time in 28 years, my whole crew's together, with the exception of Bobby Don. We're flying the flag for him and flying the day he got killed. It means a lot to me.
I am not, like Secretary McNamara, of the view that that war was a wasted war.
This means even more to swift boat veterans, finally getting some respect for what they accomplished, as a swift boat is added to the Navy Museum in Washington. Such pomp was not possible right after the war due to circumstance. It was a time when America's frustration over the war in Vietnam was vented on its veterans.
It was rough on every sailor that ever came home from combat in uniform that came into places like L.A. I mean, there were people there to greet us and spit at us.
The war may have been lost, but the swift boats fulfilled their mission in patrolling the rivers and coastline of South Vietnam. They were so successful in cutting supply lines that the enemy had to pull soldiers away from the war to build a new supply route, the Ho Chi Minh Trail.
We got it. They got that son of a...
PCF 79 is a good example of mission accomplished. The crew members captured a 120-foot fishing trawler laden with 180,000 pounds of munitions. Without the efforts of this crew, there would no doubt be many more names on the wall.
Boats, this is for you. We're still with you. We know you're here.
They came to honor one of their own, Bobby Don Carver, whom they called Boats. He fired the round that stopped the trawler, but 6 months later, he was killed in a shoreline ambush.
It completes a full circle for us, I believe. You'll never forget, though. You can never forget.
We remember and we care. Bosun Mate Second Class Herbert Tuck, Jr. Quartermaster Third Class Eugene Self.
Now, the efforts of sailors like Bobby Don Carver are being honored, as are the contributions of surviving Swiftboat veterans, like the crew of PCF 79, Senator John Kerry of Massachusetts, and Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Navy, Wade Sanders.
Last night I had the strangest dream I never dreamed before. I dreamed the world had all agreed to put an end to war. And I dreamed I saw a mighty room, and the room was filled with men. And the paper they were signing said, we'd never fight again.